Hey y'all, welcome back. Today, we're checking out top 10 most evil queens in history.
These ruthless rulers are responsible for some of history's darkest hours. Welcome to Watch Mojo UK, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 most evil queens in history. Before we begin, if you enjoy this video, please subscribe for more great content. For this list, the individuals do not necessarily have to have held the title of queen, as we're including anything equivalent in power, from wicked regents to unforgiving empresses.
Okay. Seriously, she wasn't real, unfortunately.
Number 10, Empress Xiao Fen of China. Heading back to the Han Dynasty, Xiao Fen and her sister Xiao He were born to imperial servants, but both rose through the ranks to become favored consorts of Emperor Sheng. Fen became empress, but as neither her nor her sister bore Sheng an imperial heir, they reportedly went to great and grisly lengths to ensure that no other concubine could produce a son. From forced Upon Sheng's death, Xiao He committed while Xiao Fen clung to power for a further 5 years until she killed herself at 31.
So her and her sister were concubines, ladies of the night, prostitutes, and they made all the other concubines have A words. I don't think I can say the A word because of the algorithm. Can I say algorithm? I think I can say algorithm, but you know, where you end a baby. Censorship sucks. But so she and her sister rose through the ranks and they killed a bunch of babies on the way, and then they killed themselves at the end. She was often vilified by her own sisters. She was often compared and contrasted with Yang, the concubine of Emperor Zhengzong of Tang. That's a great name. Because she was known for her slender build, while Yang was known for her full build. Oh, a little bit of both. This led to the Chinese idiom Huan Fei Yang Yan Shu, literally plump Huan, slender Fei, which described a range of types of beauties. Later, the idiom was used as a figurative expression of literary styles and can be either verbose or sparse. Oh, little yin and yang. Her husband, Emperor Chang, died suddenly in 7 BC. Oh, he almost made it to AD, y'all. Almost. From a stroke. Although historians also report the possibility of an overdose of aphrodisiacs. A little too much Viagra. Grieving her husband and apparently fearful of appraisals, consort Zhou He killed herself. Whoa, she just freaked out. She just ended it. She got so paranoid that she ended her own life because she was afraid of being murdered. Anyway, wow. What a way to start. Number 10. That's some evil going on.
Number 9, Olga of Kiev. A princess who became a saint, Olga probably has a better reputation than most on today's countdown,
she also
led one of the most brutal revenge missions ever. In the year 945, her husband Igor of Kiev was killed by his enemies, the Drevlians. So Olga hatched various schemes to settle the score. She had
revenge.
20 Drevlian messengers buried alive. She had another delegation of 20 burned to death.
That's horrible.
She attended a Drevlian feast and oversaw the slaughter of 5,000 more. Wow. And she supposedly burned down an entire city by lacing pigeons with sulfur. That's one way to vent out your anger.
But she became a saint later. What a tangled web we weave. There she is. Look at that ice. She kind of looks like my mom, honestly. Her husband was killed by his enemies. She sought revenge. Okay, after her husband's death at the hands of the Drevlians, Olga assumed the throne because her 3-year-old son was too young. That makes sense. The Drevlians wanted Olga to marry their king, Prince Mal. So 20 Drevlian negotiators boated to Kiev to pass along the king's message to say, hey, let's get together. I know we killed your husband, but marry our king and it's all going to be good. Olga responded, your proposal is pleasing to me. And she said, hey, come back tomorrow and we'll hash this out. When the Drevlians returned the next day, they waited outside Olga's court to receive the honor she had promised. The people of Kiev rose up carrying the Drevlians in their boat. The ambassadors believed this was a great honor, as if they were being carried by a palanquin. So these Kiev people picked up the boat with all the Drevlian ambassadors in the boat. The people brought them into the court, where they were dropped into a trench that had been dug the day before, and the ambassadors were buried alive. It is written that Olga bent down to watch them as they were buried and inquired whether they found the honor to their taste. That is... wow. Wow, buried alive. Can you imagine? That makes me think of Kill Bill, Volume 2, I think it is. Uma Thurman gets buried alive. Okay. How did she die? Olga died from illness in 969, soon after blah, 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 blah. Doesn't say what she died of. That means she pooped to death. Moving on.
Number 8, Catherine de' Medici, Queen
Her.
of France.
How many mother's children have you killed?
Oh, indignation instead of groveling? I suppose that'll do.
Queen of France between 1547 and 1559, Catherine de' Medici had some influence over her husband
very
Henry
long.
II's reign, but when he died, her powers grew. As regent, she guided the turbulent rule of her 3 sons during a series of Huguenot rebellions. The throne's increasingly harsh policies are often attributed to Catherine, culminating in the St. Bartholomew's Day massacre, a weeks-long killing spree which resulted in thousands of Protestant deaths.
Wow.
Ruling requires that your hands be drenched in blood.
Rumored links with the occult also surrounded the former Italian noblewoman who owned a talisman created by Nostradamus. Master manipulator or blatant witch? You decide.
Oh, she's probably a witch. Look at that. She looks like a witch. Apparently she had the protruding eyes of a Medici. How did she die? Catherine died at the age of 69, probably from pleurisy. What is that? Inflammation of the membranes that surround the lungs and line the chest cavity. Ow! This can result in a sharp chest pain while breathing. Occasionally, the pain may be a constant dull ache. Other symptoms may include shortness of breath, cough. That sounds painful, but dignified. No pooping. She had no sooner died than she was treated with as much consideration as a dead goat. I don't think she was very popular. Maybe all that murder.
Manipulator or blatant witch? You decide.
Oh, and the witchery.
Number 7, Mary I of England.
Mary, the first, that's me, called the bloody Queen of England.
Given that history has dubbed her Bloody Mary, this queen
Oh,
carved quite a
Bloody
reputation
Mary.
during her 5-year reign.
I
Determined to reverse the Reformation instigated by her father,
I love that, what's that show, History's Mysteries or something? I love that they make her, like, dancing and singing. That's very funny. Horrible Histories, that's what it is. Very funny.
That's me, called the bloody Queen of England.
Given that history has dubbed her Bloody Mary, this queen carved quite a reputation during her 5-year reign. Determined
Just
to
5
reverse the
years?
Reformation instigated by her father Henry VIII, she sought to reinstate Catholicism across the realm. Almost immediately upon ascending to the throne, Mary had leading Protestant clergymen imprisoned, while hundreds more were forced into exile. She then arranged the execution of over 250 prominent Protestants, forcing many to watch their peers be burned alive at the stake before suffering the same fate.
I know a Bloody Mary because if I go in the bathroom and turn the lights off and say her name 3 times, she appears. Without fail. Bloody Mary. How did she die? Oh, did she marry that King Philip guy of Spain with the crazy mouth? I'm thinking of Habsburgers. After Philip's visit in 1557, Mary again thought she was pregnant. Ooh, they did it! With a baby due in March, but no child was born, and Mary was forced to accept that her half-sister Elizabeth would be her lawful successor. Sibling rivalry. Mary was weak and ill from May, in pain possibly from ovarian cysts or uterine cancer. She died in November, age 42. She was interred in Westminster Abbey, in a tomb she eventually shared with Elizabeth. Oh, Oh, there's her. They got her right there in the floor. Oh, no, not in the floor. Okay, right there. That's better.
Number 6, Isabella I of Castile. As one half of the Catholic monarchs, Isabella of Spain was a prominent figure behind the Spanish Inquisition and the expulsion of Muslims and Jews from the country.
Some people would love her now.
Alongside Ferdinand II of Aragon, she turned Catholicism into a compulsory faith, forcing up to 200,000 people to convert or else flee. Those who continued to practice alternative religions in secret were imprisoned, often tortured, and sometimes burned alive. And Isabella was keen to see her hardline policies adopted elsewhere, as she and Ferdinand financed Christopher Columbus and the colonization of the Americas.
That's how I've heard of her. How'd she die? She died in 1504. She's entombed in Granada in the Doesn't say how she died, y'all. Poop.
Number 5, Agrippina the Younger. The fourth wife of the Roman Emperor Claudius, directly following Valeria Messalina, who supposedly sought to execute Claudius herself. Agrippina was also Caligula's sister, so you could say evil was in her blood. She was actually exiled for plotting against Caligula, but returned following his death and married. Agrippina quickly sought to eliminate her rivals in various ruthless ways, and in a bid for long-lasting power, she persuaded Claudius to adopt her son Nero. She allegedly poisoned her husband soon after, and Nero became emperor. But it also ended badly for Agrippina, who was ultimately assassinated by her son. Right. Families, eh?
Well, we know how she died. Can you imagine, like, realistically plotting the death of a parent? I guess it still happens today, but dang. She must have been a shitty mother. This says he may not have killed her, but it's Wikipedia, so who knows? Oh, okay, so Nero became involved with Poppy Sabina, and she taunted him for being a mummy's boy. So Nero decided to kill his mom. This says he built a self-sinking boat, but the boat failed to sink, so the crew then sank the boat. But Agrippina swam to shore. Her friend was attacked by an oarsman while still in the water, and was either bludgeoned to death or drowned, since she was exclaiming that she was Agrippina, in the hope of being saved. Whoa. She did not know that this was an assassination attempt. So Agrippina survived that. Agrippina was, she went home. Agrippina was surrounded in her bed and struck in the head with a cudgel before proffering her womb, crying out, "Stab my belly," and finally dying after experiencing many fatal wounds to that area. Suetonius says Agrippina's overwatchful and overcritical eye that she kept over Nero drove him to murdering her. Helicopter mom. Crazy times.
Number 4, Irene of Athens. Assuming power over the Byzantine Empire as regent for Constantine VI, who was just 9 years old when he inherited the throne, Irene of Athens is remembered for her controversial efforts to restore the worship of religious icons. A divisive figure then and now, maintaining power was everything to her, no matter what the cost. When Constantine was old enough to rule, she proved an exceptionally overbearing mother until he sought to break free from her authority. Their rivalry ended when Irene framed her son for conspiracy. Constantine had his eyes gouged out as punishment. Brutal.
Constantine? The Constantine? Okay, there were several Constantines. This was Constantine VI. Irene was exiled to Lesbos and forced to support herself by spinning wool. She died the following year. How? Doesn't say how she died.
Number 3, Fredegund of Soissons. Queen consort with Chilperic I, a 6th century Frankish king, and regent for her son Clothar II, Fredegund rose through the ranks from royal servant to king's mistress to a cold-blooded murderer ready to kill whenever necessary. Amongst other things, she arranged for Chilperic's previous wife to be strangled. She started a fierce 40-year feud with that woman's sister, Brunhilde, and she tried to crush the skull of her own daughter using a treasure chest. Wow. If you got on her bad side, you were usually killed, and often in an unpleasant manner.
Yeah, these are getting more psychopathic. She was jealous of her own daughter, Ragunth. First of all, she gave her a horrible name. You know she hates her. Ragunth continually declared that she would be mistress in her place, Fredegund waited her opportunity and under the pretense of magnanimity took her to the treasure room and showed her the king's jewels in a large chest. Feigning fatigue, she exclaimed, I am weary. Put thou in thy hand and take out what thou mayest find. The mother thereupon forced down the lid on her neck and would have killed her had not the servants finally rushed her to... Oh, so she didn't kill her, she just tried to. Fredegund died of natural causes on December 9th, 597 in Paris.
Number 2, Wu Zetian of China. Taking control of China after a millennia of male rule and steering the empire through a relatively stable period in history, she could be judged as a very successful leader. However,
Nice.
her time at the top was drenched in blood. She employed a
Nice.
secret police to find and murder potential opponents, and she
Nice.
had no qualms with attacking her own. She's heavily implicated in the death of her own infant daughter, who was supposedly strangled so that she could frame a rival, and her accusations of
False
witchcraft and
flag.
treason led to various executions, including those of most of her own family.
Wow. Great hat. What a beauty. She started as a concubine. Another one, y'all. Don't be messing around with these concubines. Any kings out there? Charles? How did she die? Removal and death. In autumn 701, accusations of corruption began to be leveled against her. She became seriously ill for a period. This doesn't say how she died, so, she probably just had explosive diarrhea, got dehydrated, couldn't keep up, died.
Number 1, Rana of Alona I of Madagascar. Also known as the Mad Queen, Rana of Alona entered into the Madagascan royal family as a commoner, but fought off various claimants to the throne, and eventually ruled for over 30 years. Remembered for her fierce policies, such as banning Christianity, she led an exceptionally harsh regime, characterized by forced labor practices and brutal executions. Cross Rana of Alona and you were beheaded, boiled alive, or thrown into a ravine.
Boiled alive?
Estimates say that up to 75% of the Madagascan population died during her reign, through war, disease, or by Rana of Alona's own orders.
Wow.
Do you agree with our picks?
Yeah. Rana of Alona, the mad monarch of Madagascar. How'd she die? How did she die? Did she have diarrhea? I suspect that she did from eating coconuts. Succession and death. In 1861, she died in her sleep. But of what? Poop, diarrhea, dehydration. It's the most common killer of all evil royals. That's some evil stuff, y'all. What a tangled web we weave, y'all. Tangled. I think it's a lot easier being a commoner, actually. Nobody's trying to take my position, I don't think. So I'm not paranoid most of the time. Not fearful for my life most of the time. Y'all, don't mess with a queen. Don't mess with a queen. There've been a lot of evil kings throughout time, but those queens, a lot of them work behind the scenes. They start as concubines, sleep their way to the top. Camilla, watch out for them. Watch out. Well, thank y'all for watching this with me, and I'll see you next time. Later.